Do you wonder how the best runners in the world train? And more importantly, if you could steal their training principles to achieve a new personal best? In the last decade, I've competed against, trained with, and coached world-class runners. And in 2022, I came across a study of 59 of the best runners in the world. And it revealed the secrets to their incredible speed. What I found might completely change the way you structure your training. So in this video, I'm going to show you the science behind how these runners consistently run so fast and give you 2 complete training programs used by the double marathon Olympic champion Eliud Kipchoge. And to make sure you have the best chances of using this to take your own run to the next level, I'm going to show you exactly how you can use the same world-class principles in your own training, no matter if you have just started running or if you're racing against the best. I think that the people who don't take advantage of this will probably get left behind.
A group of researchers from the Center of Elite Sports Research in Norway wanted to find a results-proven framework for how elite long-distance runners train. They looked at 59 of the best long-distance runners in the world, including Olympic gold medalists and their coaches, to look at their philosophies and the way they train to understand what separates the best in the world from the rest of us. They discovered that even though there are some differences between 5 and 10K runners and marathoners, they all use the same 3 key principles. And principle number 1 is called the Eliud principle. Arthur Eliud was an athletic coach from New Zealand who was also a marathon runner. He is best known for his training methods, which revolutionized distance running all over the world. You see, Eliud's training philosophy emphasized building a strong aerobic base, meaning that his athletes would often run more than 100 miles per week. But that was not why his approach was so unique. You see, when he would plan out his training season, not only would he incorporate a phase with aerobic base building, but he would also do hill sprints, he would also do anaerobic training, and he will also do high intensity intervals. And even before a race, he would do a peak phase, which was sort of like the last phase, which were meant to just make you ready to compete on race day. This approach, known as periodization today, is emphasized in the study of the 59 world-class athletes because all of them use some version of this periodization protocol. See, structuring our training with various periods, with various intensities and volume is essential if we want to maximize our performance. This means that we need to plan our training in cycles with high intensity, with aerobic base building, and even some recovery phases as well if we want to be the very best runner we can be. This will not only help us with preventing overtraining, but it will also help our body absorb the training better and actually make us better than if we did not use these different phases. Most of the world's best athletes use what's called the Medvedev model, which means that the closer they get to their race, the more race-paced training they will do. Most of their training volume they will run on dirt paths or on forest trails, simply to reduce the impact on the ligaments and joints so that they can train more without getting injured. So how do we take advantage of the Eliud principle to maximize our own chances of becoming the best possible runner we can be?
We need to plan our training in macro, meso, and micro cycles. Here's how to do it. Plan your training year with 1 or 2 main goals. It could be a marathon or a 10K, for example. Then divide the year into macro cycles, each lasting 3 to 6 months. Next, we break down each macro cycle into 4 to 6 week blocks called mesocycles. Each mesocycle has a specific focus, such as building base endurance, increasing intensity, or tapering before a race. Finally, we divide the mesocycles into 1 week microcycles. For example, within a base building mesocycle, you might have microcycles focusing on long, slow distance runs, hill workouts, and recovery runs.
In my career working with athletes, I meet 2 different types of people. Athletes who base their training solely on scientific research, and athletes who base their training on experience and gut feeling. Now, you might think that the athletes who base their training on scientific research would become the best, but they don't. So, is it better to just rely on experience and your gut feeling? Also, no. As with anything in life, the annoying answer is that we have to be somewhere in between these 2 extremes if we want to be truly great. And world-class runners know this. In fact, in the study, they emphasize that individualization and tailoring the specific program to the specific athlete based on how they respond and their training history and a bunch of other things are extremely important for top class performance. Things like your training history, your training age, your injury history, your previous response to different types of training has to be included whenever you make a new training plan. You simply must consider these things if you want to maximize the time you spend training. So, how do we individualize our own plans most effectively?
Start by assessing your current fitness and your previous response to different types of training. Do you get better when you train hard and short, or long and easy, or somewhere in between? How does strength training affect you? And what injuries do you have, and why did they occur? Based on your previous response to training, you need to adjust the volume and intensity going forward. If you don't know the answer to these questions, start by following a standard program based on science. From here, you need to regularly monitor your progress with tools like heart rate monitors and perceived intensity scales. I use something called the Borg scale, but you can use whatever you want. Then adjust your training and your training load as you get more results to judge it from.
It's no secret that professional athletes train a lot. In fact, in my own professional career, I would train around 25 to 35 hours per week, with around 8 of those hours allocated to running. And the athletes in this study is no exception. They all run between 11 and 14 times per week, and they average around 130 all the way up to 220 kilometers each week, with the track runners just running a little bit less than the marathoners. Most of their training is done at an easy pace, which helps build endurance and efficiency. As they get closer to race day, they do more and more race pace volume, and then about 7 to 10 days away from a competition, they will start to taper.
The study highlights 3 important things for performance: VO2 max, also known as how much oxygen your body can use during intense exercise; fractional utilization, also known as how well you can keep using a high percentage of that oxygen; and running economy, which is how efficient you are at running. Also, muscle power and the ability to resist getting tired are crucial for success.
Their training includes different methods like steady training, high intensity interval training, and sprints, all planned out to help them peak at the right time at their races. On top of all this training, they also do strength training and jump training or plyometrics to peak out their performance and maximize their efficiency so that they can be even better. Also, new advancements in running shoes like the Super Shoe or something like the Nike Alpha Flies has also made a huge impact because it allows the runners to run more, run faster without getting as much impact, thereby getting better. So, how do we take advantage of this knowledge and put it in our own training plan?
First, let's talk volume. We want to increase our volume over time, but do it gradually with no more than a maximum of 10% increase per week. Then we want to incorporate a mix of low, moderate, and high intensity training, with most of our work done in the low intensity range. According to the study, the most consistent training intensity characteristic of elite distance runners is that more than 80% of their running distance is performed at low intensity throughout the training year. But as you'll see in a moment, it will vary a lot based on what training cycle they're in.
Now, to put all this information together, I want to show you 2 different training programs in 2 different phases used by the double Olympic champion Eliud Kipchoge. Let's start by taking a look at what it looks like during a general preparation phase.
So, here it is. I don't want to bore you by going through each individual day, but you can pause if you want to go into the specifics. Here's what I think is the key takeaway. In total, he racks up 200 to 220 kilometers with 82 to 84% low intensity, 9 to 10% medium intensity, and 7 to 8% high intensity work.
Now, let's look at how it changes in a race-specific preparation phase.
Here he trains a bit less with a total of 185 kilometers, with 91% in low intensity, 3% in medium intensity, and 6% in high intensity. See how it changes significantly based on training cycle. We need to do the same.
Be aware that on top of all this comes strength training, power training, and injury prevention. And an important note here: don't follow this program. You'll end up hurting yourself. Use it as inspiration and a peek into how one of the best in the world trains. You also must remember that with world-class runners, even their easy runs are like faster than 99% of other people. And it's probably not the best way to train for beginners or even intermediates. And the thing is, science will only take you so far, and if you really want to become a great runner, you have to know the ins and bits and pieces that comes with running a lot of miles. And to spare you from all the mistakes that I've made in the last 10 years running more than 25,000 miles, you should watch this video next.